Well, it's been an interesting week and a half. It all started about 12 days ago on March 5th when major tech companies began canceling or postponing their San Francisco-based conferences, including the Game Developers Conference, Google Cloud, and Facebook Global Marketing Conferences, in response to the rising rates of coronavirus infections here in the Bay Area. And then about 5 days ago, schools began shutting down, and California's governor, Gavin Newsom, issued an executive order mainly to unlock funding to help support these schools during the shutdown, but also to recommend against gatherings of 250 people or more, which then created a domino effect. Within the last few days, on a day-by-day basis, the rest of the schools have closed down. We've seen the cancellation of public services or the minimization of what they're offering, the cancellation of all street festivals, and even the closure of some businesses out there. And then yesterday came the kind of final nail in the coffin where 6 counties here in the Bay Area announced a shelter-in-place order and the closure of all of the businesses around here except for what is essential until at least April 7th. I know many of you who have short-term plans are wondering whether to still come for spring break. I would say that's a definitive no. It's pretty much a ghost town around here. All the services are shut down, and the few restaurants that remain open can only do takeout and delivery. So one of my longtime viewers, comic book artist Roy Chang, had a planned business trip here to San Francisco to attend a couple of book signings, and he arrived just last Friday, right in time for all of this craziness. So just to get the timing straight, Thursday was when the governor's directive against gatherings of 250 or more came down. On Friday and Saturday, I think people were still kind of digesting what this meant. Maybe a small handful of museums decided to close down by this time. And on Saturday, it seemed relatively normal. And since it was going to be a pretty small gathering and we were all practicing social distancing, I decided it was probably safe for me to go and attend Roy's comic book signing out at the Comic Book Museum. And when I went down to Fisherman's Wharf, here are a couple of pictures of what it looked like. As you can see, it's still relatively normal with retails and the majority of attractions still operating. And there's definitely a lack of locals. Most people were staying indoors, practicing social distancing. And because the end of February, beginning of March is typically the beginning of tourist season in San Francisco, and a lot of the tourists didn't have enough advance notice to react, there were a good number of tourists out on the streets. The event itself was super cool, very chill, and we still ended up with about 5 attendees, including myself, despite most people staying close to home, and so it was pretty easy to practice some social distancing. Plus, we were in the Batman room, which is reserved only for special events, and with their deep sanitizing, it was probably way safer than a shopping trip to Safeway or Costco. Roy is the author of a comic series called Aloha Pepe, and he was promoting his new character, Jin Shan, a boba-sipping 16-year-old female Chinatown badass superhero. He also gave a quick workshop and demo on chibi-style cartoon drawing and threw in a figure drawing class on top of that. I learned a ton. Mahalo, Roy. He had the weekend to play tourist, and then on Monday night at midnight, the shelter-in-place directive came down, and on Tuesday, the rest of his events got canceled. I was a little worried about him being stuck here during the shutdown, and so I caught up with him on Wednesday night just to see how he was dealing with the whole situation.
Good afternoon. How's it going?
Good. Pretty good.
Good. So you've been out and about for the last day or so, and it's been pretty much a ghost town?
Yeah, yesterday was pretty sad. I mean, you could go out, you could pretty much drag race, you could do your wheelies on a skateboard, you could do anything you want in the street, no one would say nothing. I mean, it was just that empty.
Are you finding that it's been hard to get around?
Yesterday I was kind of disappointed. I thought I could catch the cable car and just do some joyriding, but those were stopped, and now you have shuttle buses. They're starting to kick people out now if you're out in the streets. I wouldn't say like they're doing curfews, but let's say if you're in a public area, like maybe at the Embarcadero, they might say, good night, could you please move on and all that. So I think they don't want people straggling. Like, for instance, I was at a certain hotel where people can just go in and use the restroom or just make their own little Starbucks mini offices. And I think we were being told to kind of like shuffle out at a certain time. Today, it was interesting because I wanted to go out after I did some things in my hotel. I wanted to see what's it like when people get off from work. And so I did see traffic. It looked like a typical day. Majority of the places were closed. I wanted to, get some things to eat. You had to go to maybe like say Chinatown markets, those open delis. Some of the boba places I wanted to try, they were closed. Steep was closed, didn't open up for that. So it's kind of like hit and miss. I'm here at the Starbucks, and I was like the last customer going in, and they said, well, we're going to close up our location here. So certain locations will remain open, some will not. I was at Sushi Rito earlier, and it was kind of neat because they rotate the staff. So at one location, you might not have a job, you might not be working, but good company. They'll rotate the staff, so at least everybody gets a chance to earn some money. So that was a good plus in them.
That's excellent.
Yeah.
Are the police out in force at all, trying to implement the lockdown?
Not so much. I think like they just don't want to really cause a trouble or create more fear. The ones that I saw a lot happening were the ones in those pedicabs. I think they were like parking police maybe.
Okay.
And, yeah, they were going around tourists, just looking for any cars that they could ticket or move or get towed. So a lot of street parking, a lot of the public parking spaces were shut down. I noticed like the BARTs are doing less. Caltrain, I'm right below. I guess it's that station. I only saw like maybe one or two riders getting on something.
Yeah.
On the vehicle. Yeah. But
right.
You're seeing more and more people wearing masks. People are getting a little bit more hypersensitive now. I just saw back in Hawaii Island is going to do a curfew at 9 p.m. starting Friday.
Wow.
And even the governor is requesting that tourists don't show up for 30 days.
All right. Well, take care of yourself. I know you've
Thank
got
you.
still a couple more days here before your vacation.
Is that, I'll call it that. I'll try to call it that.
All right. Thanks for the call.
Okay. Take care. Aloha.
So you notice from the title that this is a version 2. I actually had an original version up last week, which I took down after a day because I realized I had some continuity problems. So I added in a couple of extra sections here just to explain to you guys that when he flew over here, there wasn't a shelter in place and that he really did get stuck here. And while he was here, he tried to adhere to the order as much as possible while operating out of a very small hotel room, which is quite challenging. After he went home to Hawaii, I was curious as to how this whole trip netted out for him. And so we had a final Skype call today, and here it is.
I saw throughout that the food situation was really challenging for you, that when you first started, there were a lot of restaurants open at the beginning of the week, and by the end of the week, everything had closed down. Can you talk a little bit about that?
My last day, I thought, well, maybe I'll just go to an In-N-Out because I went there earlier a second time and they were just doing takeout and they were closed. And so a lot of things that I wanted to do, try and go to, were just closing left and right, one by one. So a lot of it was actually like going to the Trader Joe's, and it's good because you got like complete meals, and I could also do my shopping too. So it wasn't bad. It wasn't bad.
So I remember at the beginning of the trip, there were still quite a lot of tourists out and about. And what were you finding about tourists towards the end of the trip? They all pretty much disappear, or were there still tourists out there?
I think the tourists were pretty much dissipated, but you had the locals. I could tell the locals more from the tourists. And I think the word got out fast. I mean, if I walked past by a hotel at night, you could see the lights were off.
I saw from a lot of the pictures that when you ended up going back home later on Sunday, that the airport was pretty empty. So can you talk a little bit about that experience?
Yeah, I took a lift, and the airport, the terminal, usually I see traffic and I have to somehow navigate to be dropped off, look for a skycap or bring my bags in. And I just turned my head and it's like, oh my goodness, there's nobody here. It's like, oh, we were here too early or something. And he said, no, it's like this. It's been like this. In fact, I heard in the next few days it might shut down even more. So when I got out, literally, I was like the only person there. Going in, like I said, passing through TSA was really easy, really fast. And going back, my flight only had like 20 people. I was going to take my reserved seat, and the person told me, you know what, we're just going to close the back half, just go move up to the front. And so everybody pretty much had like, their own row to themselves.
Now, you've returned to Hawaii, and my understanding from you is that you guys are now on a sort of shelter-in-place order as well in Hawaii.
Exactly. Yeah. So it's a different kind of a feel here. I mean, we have some similarities. Like we have the people hoarding. We see it in the news. People fighting over the toilet paper. People worrying about unemployment. Restaurants are shutting down. So there's that same fear or pressure that people are having here that I saw people going through the week on the mainland. When people were like looking around saying like, oh, I guess we got to shut down tonight. And so it's happening now. So it's like an extension vacation for me. It's like, oh, I came back to exactly what I saw there.
All right. Well, take it easy, and hopefully you will last well through your shutdown over there. Appreciate you sharing your experience with us.
Okay. Thank you, Zine.
All right.
Take care.
Thank you so much. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Aloha.
Aloha.
The shelter-in-place order will be enforced through April 7th, and beyond that, it's still kind of TBD. It really depends on if we can make a good dent in stopping the rate of infection. If so, maybe we can get back to a little bit of normal. But what I'm hearing from health experts on the news, it sounds like we're going to have some pretty serious disruptions at least through the end of summer. I'll continue to stay on top of this for you, so stay tuned. On that topic, this means some temporary changes to my channel. And at least for the next month, while we're still under government orders, I will not be out and about around the city per my usual. I will instead switch to a format that's a little bit more accommodating to a home studio. And I'll be doing mainly vlogs. And I've got a bunch of super interesting topics lined up for us to talk about. And they will all still be fun and all still be about San Francisco. We're all going through this pandemic together, and I'm going to really rely on you guys, my online community, to keep me sane and entertained, and I promise to do the same for you as well. And that's it for my update. Stay healthy, everyone, and keep your spirits up. This too shall pass. From my home studio, under lockdown, peace out.